So Dave, I was thinking the other day, actually I try to think every day. As you know, it doesn't always work.
Mark it on your calendar.
Yeah, right. But anyhow, I was thinking about recently about some flights that over the decades, that a handful of them that kind of are always just, below top of mind, that where things have happened that kind of affect my decision making still to this day. And it eventually occurred to me that most of those were kind of scary moments in the cockpit, where things have really stuck to my memory and that kind of make an impact on me still to this day. And I got a couple of ideas, but I'm sure you've got some ideas too of flights that have made an impact.
Sure, it's those sort of searing moments in the cockpit.
Right.
They stick with you, and there's a you don't want to dwell on them, but at the same time, there's usually some valuable lessons in there, and you don't want to forget those either.
Yeah, I mean, one that comes to mind for me was this was a long time ago, but I just bought a 172. It was my first airplane, and I bought it in January and flew it locally here at Frederick quite a bit, but I hadn't had any long trips, so I didn't really have a good sense of how much fuel I was really burning. Of course, we know this was a 1977 172, so we all know how accurate those fuel gauges are, and also what the burn rate is from left to right tank. It's a big mystery. So anyhow, I flew it to Sun and Fun, and it was a challenging flight on the way down from a lot of turbulence, but I got there and everything was fine. But on the way home, I encountered more headwind than I was expecting. And this was on the days before we had a lot of good information in the cockpit, so you're just guessing on a lot of this stuff. And I was headed from Lakeland to Florence, South Carolina, to get fuel. And as I was over North Georgia into South Carolina, I'm looking at those fuel gauges, and they're more down here than up here, bouncing around. And I had done the calculations, and I felt everything was okay, but at some point I got extremely nervous about whether I had enough fuel, and I really debated what to do. And meanwhile, as I'm letting a couple of airports go right underneath the airplane, I could have stopped, but I had Florence on my brain. And the closer I got to Florence, the more nervous I got about how much fuel I really had, and was really getting almost panicky and considering an off-airport landing. That's how far it got. But I continued on to Florence mistakenly, big mistake. And I landed, taxied up to the FBO, and they put fuel in the airplane, topped it off, and it turns out I still had 8 gallons left, which in a 172 is basically IFR reserve, right? So I had lots of fuel. But it was that decision making that caused me to continue that flight that continues to kind of be top of mind with me today when I'm planning a flight where I think I'm going to be near the edge of my fuel range.
Right. And has it changed your behavior? Do you find yourself stopping short more often? Do you find yourself being more conservative in your fuel planning?
Well, it does that, but the other thing is it's caused me to invest in better equipment. I have digital fuel senders in my Bonanza now. I've got a JPI engine analyzer with fuel flow in it, and I check it all the time, and I know that it's dead on accurate. So I've invested in those kind of things to help me take full advantage of the range of the airplane and be more comfortable about it. But it also is always top of mind when I'm planning any kind of a trip that I think might be near the limited range of the airplane.
Right. I had a similar experience in the fuel emergencies. It's one thing if you have a fuel tank that's leaking, or something that you couldn't have anticipated, but it's like, I always feel so dumb, because I'm sitting there and I've got so much time to dwell on it, and you go back and you redo your calculations and you just think, how did I get myself in this bind, And I remember, I'll never forget one that was like that over Alaska. I was doing a ferry flight, single engine airplane. Weather was beautiful, just clear in a million, tailwind, and I had planned a pretty long leg. And it's like things were going fine for the first 3 hours of the 4-hour flight. And then in the last hour, weather got bad, the wind got strong, a big strong headwind, and I was thinking about doing a precautionary landing too, except there was nowhere to do a precautionary landing. I was right over Glacier Bay, which, a bunch of cold water and steep cliffs, and there was no alternate. And you just think, wow, this is how pilots get killed in Alaska. It's unforecast weather, stronger than expected headwind, and then here you've got this adversity with nowhere to divert to, and you either make it or you don't. And during that last hour of do you make it or you don't, you just have all sorts of opportunity to revisit your recent choices. And on that one, I had bypassed Yakutat because it's like I could have landed there, I could have topped off. Didn't think I had to. I thought I could easily make it with sufficient reserves, and end up, for the last 60 minutes, maybe 90 minutes,
right.
really questioning your, why you have been such a slow learner in all this aviation, because certainly these are very fundamental, basic lessons that you should have learned by now.
Right. Why is it that we push ourselves like that, though? Everybody says pilots are goal-oriented, right? Is that it? Do we have this need to complete the mission?
Right, and also it's like it's drilled into us. You plan the flight, you fly the plan.
Right.
And any deviation from that is seen as a failure.
Right.
And so I think and the longer you stick with it, the more reluctant you are to give up the plan.
Yeah. Of course, in the military, what is it that they say? No plan survives the first contact with the enemy, or something like
Right.
that. Yeah.
Right.